One of our favorite sponsors is back with us, Sunset Lake CBD.
Yeah.
If you're looking for CBD that actually does what CBD is supposed to do, look no further than our friends over at Sunset Lake.
Let me break it down.
Break it down, Mel.
They're sustainably farmed, meaning they avoid pesticides and use sustainable farming practices to preserve the land for future generations. 1. 2, farm to table. They ship the CBD products straight from their door in Vermont directly to your door wherever you're at.
Now that's cool.
And third party tested. They test everything with a third party to ensure quality, dosage, and safety.
You got to go over and check out sunsetlakecbd.com. They have so many products. Break it down for them, Apple.
Well, they've got some new stuff going on. Like they always had pre-rolls, but now they got really cool packaging for it. And you can get CBD pre-roll flights of all their flavors. You can get the heavy hitter flight that also throws in some of their Keef blunts. They have a new CBD recovery body lotion.
I'm excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other?
The other one with arnica.
The extra strength muscle rub, 3,000 milligram with 5% lidocaine.
So look,
Oh, yeah,
if you're
lidocaine.
sore, this is the stuff you want to rub on your body to make those aches and pains go away. They even have CBD infused coffee, so you can have coffee without the little jitter that you get from caffeine, and you have it in the morning and you start your day off right. Your body feels lubricated. You're going to sleep good.
Yeah, and also they have, if you kind of forget to reorder, they've got subscriptions.
And they're giving the No Simple Road family 20% off.
20% off.
Put
with
in the promo code NSR20 when you're checking out at sunsetlakecbd.com. You're going to get 20% off your entire order.
NSR20.
And don't forget those cute little gummy bears.
That's right. sunsetlakecbd.com. One of our favorite sponsors is back. Our friends over at Fire on the Mountain have decided something. Do you want to know what it is?
What? Yeah.
I'm glad you asked what it is.
What have they decided?
They've decided that you're hungry.
Yeah,
And
they're
they've
right.
also decided that they want to feed you delicious food.
You want to know what else?
What?
They have a happy hour.
What?
Yes. Weekdays between 2 and 5, they've got all draft beer is $1 off, and you can get a small fry, a small tot, or a small house salad for $5.
One tot?
Well, one.
Oh, okay. An order. I got
I
it.
would
One
just like
I
one
see.
tot.
order of a small tot.
Can you put it in my hand for a dime?
Yeah. And what
Well,
else, Apple? What else you got? to
Well,
tell
we
us?
talk about their food all the time. We've neglected a couple of the awesome things they have, like the sweet potato fries. They got pork nachos. They got their Tejas chips and queso. They got a whole array of sandwiches at all their locations.
And of course, their famous brewing wonderful beer.
Oh, yeah. You can't leave out the wonderful brewed deliciousness that they have over at Fire on the Mountain. And hey, here's the thing. This isn't just delicious food in Portland or Denver. 3 locations in Portland, 2 locations in Denver. It's not just that.
Nope.
It is the Grateful Dead family serving you delicious food.
Wow.
So what's better than our own family cooking food that they put their love and intention and joy into, and then give it to you, and then you actually can physically eat love, joy, and intention in the form of delicious chicken wings.
I know it's better.
What?
When they also cook deep fried Oreos and deep fried Twinkies for you.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty awesome. But what if they put love in that stuff?
Then it's even better.
They also cater. That's another awesome thing. So say you want to throw a cute little office party and you want something fun and delicious.
It is that time.
They
of
got
year.
you.
Your New Year's party.
Fire
you
on
got
the
friends
Mountain.
coming over. Have Fire on the Mountain bring all the stuff, and you'll be the hit. So go to Fire on the Mountain. 3 locations in Portland, 2 locations in Denver. You can go to portlandwings.com if you are feeling sad right now because you don't live in either of those places. Order yourself some swag. Get yourself some sauces. You can have a party at home with swag and sauces. Fire on the Mountain.
And if you have that party at home, make sure to invite us.
Yeah, please do. We'll be there in 5 minutes. Don't be sad. I don't want you to be sad.
About what?
I don't want to be sad.
You didn't get what you wanted for Christmas, or you forgot to get that one person something for Christmas that you really love. Go to shoptourbus.com and hook them up with one of the amazing Grateful Dead inspired designs over there. And it's going to come to you in a hand-designed, one-of-a-kind box or an all-over printed box. It's up to you. You got to let them know.
And that one-of-a-kind box is going to come with it's going to come with your t-shirt perfectly rolled up in it, the comfiest tee you've ever worn. And then it's going to be adorned with a piece of twine that holds it together with usually some kind of a print that's wrapped around that. a lot of intention, and then you're not done yet. There's gonna probably be some. I've got boxes with candy, action figures, little Hot Wheels.
I got a miniature Jerry
all kinds
hand.
of stuff. You never know what you're gonna get. The surprises never end over at Shop Tour Bus.
Some of you might even get a Miracle Grateful Dead
Bootleg.
in your order, and they're giving you free shipping when you put in the promo code No Simple Road. All one word when you check out. There you go, free shipping, because they are part of the No Simple Road family, and they love you, and we love you, and Shop Tour Bus loves you. Go to shoptourbus.com.
Boom.
Hey everyone, Chris Pandolfi from the infamous String Dusters here to let you know that my podcast, Inside the Musician's Brain, is back on the airwaves for season 4, which means it's time once again to get deep with influential musicians from all across the musical landscape to really understand and translate the lessons of success, failure, inspiration, and hard work that are behind the music and the artists that we love. My guests this season include Rachel Price from Lake Street Dives, Sam Bush, Chris Wood, Chris Funk from The Decemberists, Lindsay Liu, MC Taylor from His Golden Messenger, and more. Check us out, and thanks for listening.
We're so excited to tell you a bit about today's sponsor, Music Masters Collective. They are a nonprofit organization that produces unique music events, providing opportunities for fans and artists to meet and collaborate in an inspired and creative atmosphere.
Music Masters Collective events give you the opportunity to learn from world-class musicians like Otil Burbridge, Steve Earle, Richard Thompson, former members of the band, the Milk Carton Kids, Nikki Glaspie, the Fab Four, and Sean Colvin, and so many more.
At an event like the Milk Carton Kids Sad Song Summer Camp happening this July, you can expect immersive classes, evenings of entertainment, excellent food, and a space for a lucky group of folks to learn, co-write, workshop, and perform with like-minded peers, all with the guidance of Kenneth Pattengale, Joey Ryan, and some of their favorite songwriters. This all-inclusive week in the Catskill Mountains of upstate New York is guaranteed to be magical. Scholarships are available and spots are extremely limited, so visit www.sadsongsummercamp.com/simple to learn more. That's www.sadsongsummercamp.com/simple. Check it out. Rolled into it kind of blooty. We're back.
We're here. We're back.
Hey, everybody, it's Aaron. Hey now, No Simple Road family.
What's up, No Simple Road family? It's Mel.
And what's up, No Simple Road family? Happy holidays. This is Apple.
It's a very special No Simple Road this week with Ben and Grant from the Polyrhythmics.
Right on.
And we are stoked to have them on the show. I have to say that they played my favorite set at Northwest String Summit
Yes.
this year.
That's saying a lot.
There was a lot of music, and that's when we all got turned on to Polyrhythmics. It was like, oh yeah, Polyrhythmics are playing late night, and we were like, okay, cool. And then
It was the best night of the entire festival.
Yeah, like, okay, why?
Why? Because, well, I mean, there was lots of reasons why. The weather was freaking perfect.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't like it is right now.
Also, Sky hooked us up with this incredible booth that was facing the stage.
Yeah.
So we literally got to see it head on in the comfort of our own porch, because we brought our porch to String Summit. And then all the No Simple Road family came in freaking droves. They were there in full effect. We were surrounded by our family from the Pacific Northwest and beyond.
Yeah.
And then to top that off, Polyrhythmic comes on and starts the funk train, didn't stop, and kept it going. And just at the end, we really stayed till the very, very, very
We
end.
were like the last.
I mean, that's not true. We stayed to the end a lot, but in this situation, when we were in a festival, we don't usually close out festivals
Right,
because
like-
we have shit to do the next day.
And at a festival, there's no bedtime, and like it was late enough to where we were the only ones walking back to camp.
Yeah.
Everybody was
it reminded
gone.
me, remember when we ran into Greg's from Pigeons in 2019 because we were up so late?
Yes.
Like, that's what it kind of reminded me of. And it just, the memories, the music, and the atmosphere was just literally all as perfect as it can possibly be.
All right, Apple, your turn.
All right. So I hope, I mean, a lot of, like you said, a lot of you probably heard of them. I'm going to be so excited for those of you that haven't heard of them, and we're turning you on to them. These guys bring the funk. They blow it up. Like, if you're not moving when this music is playing, like, you're a corpse. We've said.
Well, what I meant, your turn.
Or maybe
is
you literally
why,
can't.
Oh,
why
it's-
was that night?
Oh,
so
it's
special?
Summit?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, there's
That
that. And then, well, because it's like Mel said, that it was at one point, turn around, every direction I looked, within like 15 people deep, all around us, around our porch that we brought, was all family, listeners. Like, it was, there was so many people there that we knew. And like Mel summed it up. I mean, it was like the perfect night. The weather was awesome. We had our porch. We partied so hard that night with everybody. It was amazing. And
was a
they
lot
just
of shenanigans
they
that
blew
night.
our doors off.
They really did.
I was so stunned when the set, about halfway through their set, I remember thinking to myself, this is the best night of my life. And then thinking, what is this music?
Yeah. Who
Who the
this?
fuck are these guys? And so, like, I'm going to piggyback on what you guys said. Yeah.
They have a thing too that I noticed when we went to the Big Dirty and saw them too. They have a really cool way of, especially towards, like, you think it's the end of the show almost, they kind of get real quiet and bring it down. I remember several times thinking, like, I don't want the music to stop, and then next thing you know, bam, into another song, just blowing your doors off. And it that night it seemed like they played, I know they didn't, but
7
it seemed
hours.
like, yeah, it seemed like it was like like 5 sets. They're so amazing.
I remember vaguely. No, I'm just kidding. I remember during the set, like, turning in one direction and Cody and Bree and like Kenzo and Amanda and Brad from Idaho, and then turning the other way and just a whole other group like Jason and Audrey and a whole other group of No Simple Road family. And the feeling in the area that we were in, it felt like the best homecoming or prom night.
Or like getting into the perfect temperature jacuzzi.
Yes.
And just enjoying the jets on your back and on your feet.
And so we have this incredible night with Polyrhythmics at Northwest String Summit. And I remember after I came home and recovered a week later, thinking to myself, well, I wonder if it was just the combination of substances and people and being there at String Summit and it being the last one. And I can't wait to see them again and see if it was just that. And so we, in October, was it? We went down to Eugene and saw them at the Big Dirty.
Yeah.
no, was it?
It wasn't. No.
It was October.
Okay.
Anyway.
And,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay,
Point
sorry.
being,
I
we
thought
went
it was-
again to go see them down in Eugene. And I remember before the show started, I was like, I hope it's the same tonight as it was at Summit. And sure enough, man, they have a very particular mojo that they bring that is theirs and theirs alone. It's not like anybody else's mojo. And it's groovy as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
And I dance differently to Polyrhythmics than I do to any other band. And I was really, really excited to get them on the show. I didn't know that it was going to happen yet, but I wanted to make it happen when we saw them last time because I wanted everybody that listens to our show to know who they were.
Yeah, because they will become part of your soundtrack for sure. They have around here. And I was going to add that to the Ben and then Jason on the bass, the way those two play off
Yes.
each other and like keep the stomp going and everything. And then to even go further with the horn section that they have.
Oh, dude, the guy with
with
the flute.
Scott on trumpet, Elijah on the trombone. And then I say in this interview, I feel like Art is like a spirit animal for me. He plays sax Like, it's so awesome. And then all of a sudden, here comes this flute solo
That
in the
flute
middle
solo
of this
is-
funk rock, like knocking you back. And then this beautiful, calming, like flute solo over the music that takes you like,
It's like a velvet
it's like
glove.
takes you on a magic carpet ride and then settles you back down into this bassy, funky. I mean, I can't wait till you listen to them
Pacific
if you have
Northwest
not.
has a really, really rich music scene going on right now. There's a little renaissance happening up here right now. And one of the things that I'm most stoked about having No Simple Road is like a platform in this part of the country is to bring these bands out to a wider audience through the show so that you all can enjoy them the way that we do. Because, you know, every city has its local scene that's going on. And
it's awesome.
And it's awesome. And there's so many bands that deserve to be heard by a wider scene. And, you know, the YouTube and the internet and Instagram, you're at the mercy of the algorithm. And that sucks sometimes.
Well, and then we also talk about, you'll hear in here, we've talked about it with other bands before, when you're like a Pacific Northwest band, it's hard. Like East Coast bands, you can drive a half hour to so many major cities and venues and everything. Up here, you know, it's few and far between
8
the
hour
cities
drive
and
to
everything.
get out of the state.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing as like actors needing to live in LA? Because you can't live in like Tennessee. I mean, I'm sure you can. You can get like maybe a couple commercials or things, but like you got to go where the action is if you want to thrive.
So I'm really, really excited for you all to hear this. And I'm glad that this actually came to be. And I'm stoked that it's over Christmas because you know what? Y'all are at home hanging out, and it just so happens that this music is fitting for hanging out with family.
Yeah, it is.
And opening presents.
And you know what else it's fitting for?
Dancing your what?
New Year's Eve celebrations.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
That's where we're going to be. We are going to be with Polyrhythmics New Year's Eve, December 31st, Portland, Oregon at the Aladdin Theater. And
Bridgetown Boogie.
Tickets still available. So,
Yes.
so if you're up in this area, come boogie with us and Polyrhythmics.
That's right. And we already have a whole crew that's coming with us. So please join us. Let's shake it to this awesome, awesome band.
Look, on New Year's, we're from Vegas originally. We moved up here 6 years ago, and coming from Vegas, the last thing I ever wanted to do was go out of my home on New
Or
Year's
like
Eve.
party outside of the house.
Because you get so jaded to New Year's Eve living in Vegas. I think like,
It also can be a little dangerous in Vegas.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I remember
absolutely.
like when I worked for my dad filming on the strip on New Year's Eve and just being like, what am I even in? So anyway, my point is getting jaded from going out on New Year's Eve. It takes a lot to make me excited to go out on New Year's Eve. And when I heard that Polyrhythmics were playing a New Year's show, immediately we got tickets. Like, and if you're like wondering what to do, you know, New Year's is coming, you don't have anybody to spend it with, or you and your crew are looking for something to do. This is the No Simple Road family inviting you out to come party with us to some badass music.
Let's bring in the New Year right.
Yeah, and I love the Aladdin Theater. It's cool.
Dank and cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
And they it's going to throw out also that beyond that, they have a few other dates they've announced. January 25th, Midtown Ballroom in Bend, Oregon, supporting Carl Denson's Tiny Universe.
Oh, cool.
Hell yeah.
And then they're bouncing up on January 26th to the Neptune Theater in Seattle, Washington. And then they are going from February 6th to February 12th on Jam Cruise.
Oh,
shit.
Y'all are lucky Jam
They're going to
Cruise
blow that. That
goers.
ship's going to be like...
Well, you know, Jam Cruise gets the best of the best.
Yeah.
So there is, you know, no matter what, if you're going on Jam Cruise, you're going to have the time of your life.
That's that. So come hang out with us. And if you're out in Bend or up in Seattle, go see them. You won't be sorry. I promise. I swear.
You
I mean
won't.
it. I mean
He's
it from the
telling the
bottom of my
truth.
tiny little heart.
You have a big heart, baby.
Okay. Of my big old heart. What do we need to do to get him to the interview?
Well, they want to hear the interview, so we got to
throw some business at you real quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Follow No Simple Road at No Simple Road on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Go to www.
And TikTok.
Oh, shit. And TikTok.
Dang,
And TikTok.
Apple threw that in.
Yeah.
Apple started a No Simple Road TikTok.
Yeah.
That's right. Everybody go support Apple and No Simple Road on TikTok at No Simple Road, right?
Yeah.
How
At
many
No
followers
Simple
you got,
Road.
bro?
I don't know, let me pull it up real quick.
It's a slow process.
Yeah, it's a slow process. I'm learning, and it cracks me up in the household because I'm the most not social media person, and
You used
I'm
to
like
not
the only
be.
one that's I'm the only one. But like Ryder goes on and off TikTok, but I have TikTok because so many people at work are on it all the time. I do it, and I was like, why not? I'm gonna. So far, I got 11 followers.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it started, and we're getting a lot of views, 668 views on the No Simple Disruption thing. Anyway, go over there. I'm just throwing up little things. I'm going to start doing a little bit behind the scenes of stuff and involving Aaron, Mel, the dog, and everything. So check that out.
All right. www.nosimpleroad.com.
Sorry, I'm excited.
Has all the No Simple Road stuff up there. Our calendar of events is there. You can get tickets to our No Simple Disruption first annual fundraiser in Asheville, North Carolina on February 15th, featuring John Medeski and Friends, which is Oteil Burbridge, Vernon Reed, Maggie Rose, DJ Logic, Jeff Sipe, and
us.
And Brian Jackson.
That's right.
Yeah, that's happening. So you can get tickets. There's a link there on nosimpleroad.com. There is also our calendar of events there. And on December the 29th, mark your calendars, No Simple Disruptions pilot episode will be dropping everywhere you get your podcast. And that is the spinoff podcast that we are working on with John Medeski and Jeff Firewalker Schmidt. And our first poet was 17 years old when she wrote the first poem that we used for this first pilot episode. And John and Jeff made some amazing music for it. And the pilot is dropping on the 29th. And we worked really hard on this, man. And I can't wait for you all to hear it. So mark your calendars because that's coming out. What
Right
else?
on.
What other business we got? Oh, go to patreon.com/No Simple Road. And that is how you can support No Simple Road and make sure that we can continue putting out 2 episodes a week and traveling and doing all the stuff that we do that brings you love and joy and entertainment and all the stuff.
We want you to call the Tepid line.
971-808-1524 is the
What are you
Tepid
going to do
line.
there?
You can, I don't know.
You're going to pretty much do whatever you want. We've asked for lots of things, but it's pretty much open mic. We want you to call, tell us a story, tell us about the holidays, a trip report from a show,
A poem.
good time with a friend, a recipe, a story about a bunny, a dog. Throw some stand-up comedy at us. Tell us a joke. I mean, we just want, it's a way for you to communicate with us however you want to and to share with us. And it makes us so happy when we get them.
And it is now December 23rd, and we haven't gotten a review on Apple Podcasts
since November
8th. So I'm asking for a Christmas miracle from all of you. If you would please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and type a little something in there so that we have a December review. It's not just a thing that we want to make us feel good. It's also helps us
with visibility.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say.
It lets other people see that people are digging the show, and then it puts it up in the algorithm. And when you listen to the shows, you want your friends to listen. So come on.
Right. Well, it gives us a chance to talk about you on the show.
That too. So I think that's all the business. Yeah, that is it.
Yeah, come join us for New Year's Eve, Polyrhythmics. Come, what else are we going to do?
Make sure you get your tickets if you're down in Asheville way.
That's right.
February the 15th. Come hang out with us. It's $20 advance, $25 the day of show. That's a hell of a deal.
It's a really
to see
great
John
deal.
Medeski and Friends and a badass show and us emceeing. So come on down and support the family if you're in the area. And here in Portland, New Year's Eve with Polyrhythmics, like Mel said. Come hang out. Let's do the do.
We're going to blow the roof off the Aladdin.
Yeah. All right.
Dang.
So let's get to this interview, guys.
Let's do it.
Without further ado, the No Simple Road crew gives you
Polyrhythmics.
Your guys' studio looks a little cooler than mine. I gotta say.
It's all good.
I said that you're a little.
You're welcome to come here if you want.
Yeah.
Where are you guys?
We're down in Portland.
Oh, no shit. I'm in Portland right now.
What? Come on.
You should have been here.
Over.
We're on hold
Wow,
for a
that's
minute.
crazy.
Oh.
Grant, you would have loved it. We would have had coffee, little Dutch babies we
There's
made this
Ben.
morning.
All right. I did not know that. I'm in my sister's basement right now. What's up, Ben?
What's up, Ben?
What's up? How's everybody doing?
Dude,
Doing
Awesome.
good,
good,
man.
I'm Aaron, by the way, everybody.
Hello, Aaron.
What's up?
What's up?
I'm Mel. Nice to meet y'all.
Nice to meet you, Mel.
And then I'm Apple. Thank you for joining us, guys. After you just finished off your fall tour, man.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Apple, I like your shirt, man.
Yeah. I'll have to talk about these guys.
I told Apple we were out on the porch having a smoke before we started. I go, you're the dude that wears the shirt to the band that you're going to see.
I totally, man.
I do it too.
I love people like that. I do that.
Thank you.
Hey,
Are we waiting for anybody else, guys?
no.
Oh, okay.
I think that's
All
it.
I think this is it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys introduce yourselves for all the people that can't see you?
My name is Grant Schroff. I'm the drummer in Polyrhythmics.
Well, welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here.
Yeah.
You guys
nicely
can't
done.
hear it, but
Thank
I
you.
can have applause sound
The
effects.
effects will happen.
Yeah. Hit that applause button.
My name is Ben. Ben Bloom. I play guitar with Polyrhythmics.
You sure do.
Yes.
Welcome, guys. So I want to start this out by saying a huge thank you to you guys.
Yeah.
You gave us the best night of live music in 2022, period, at String Summit.
Oh, right
All
on.
right.
Yeah, that late night set that you guys did was one of the most
Memorable.
memorable and incredible. Just, you know how sometimes when you're out at a festival or at a concert, there's just like the perfect storm of how high you are and who you're with and the music that's playing and everything just comes together perfect. And I had never heard you guys before.
Yeah.
And it
We're
was
new
like,
to Polyrhythmics.
it was like, holy shit.
No, we saw him. We saw him at the first time we saw him was at Beltane at the Rain Fest.
Yes.
Oh,
That
Oh, yeah.
night, which you guys
That doesn't
killed it.
count.
But yeah, Aaron's back was out. He was in so much pain. I don't think he has recollection of
Nope.
that.
Nope.
But that's the first time we saw you live after, listening to you for a while, but then seeing you live and then going to the String Summit thing. That turned into the biggest dance party that we have been part of this year.
and then, we went and saw you guys down in Eugene at the Big Dirty. And when we were headed to the show, like just in my head, I was like, I wonder if they can like come close to that night and it was the same vibe, the same groove. You guys really do have something special, man. It's
Right on. Thank you.
it's really amazing. I'm curious about the superhero origin story of Polyrhythmics. I want to hear how this all started.
Well, I think like most bands, at least most bands in Seattle, it started with groups of musicians who sort of have played together before in the scene, kind of like, kind of coming together into a new focus project. Basically, like Grant and myself were in the very beginnings, like 2009 or so. We had known each other a little bit through playing in the Seattle music scene. He was playing with a group called the Jake Shaw Trio, which was an organ trio. That's when I first got to hear Grant and Jason actually play together. And anyway, we were friends, and we both were into funk music and different things. And sort of around the same time, we sort of both had this vision independently that we wanted to start sort of like a polyrhythmic, multifaceted funk machine kind of band, like something big, a big band, instrumental dance music, slightly different influences, but we were both kind of coming from the same place on that. Like, obscure German funk stuff to Antibalas type stuff to Fela Kuti influenced music, stuff that really we weren't really hearing in Seattle and thought would go really well. So Grant sort of called me randomly and told me this idea, and I was like, well, that's amazing. I was having a similar concept. Let's put some musicians together and start writing some music. So Grant and Jason had played together quite a bit, and I knew them. And I was also playing in a band called Soul Kata out of Seattle with Art and Scott and Eli on the horn section from Polyrhythmics, and also Lalo at the time, original percussionist with Polyrhythmics. So we kind of brought them into the fold, and we kind of started writing music with the idea of putting out a 45. We wanted to put out vinyl music. We were all really into that and really wanted to kind of get music. That was really it. It was just going to be a recording project.
Okay.
Right? Just like write some good stuff, put it down to tape, make some records, be proud of them, sell them, yeah, we did it. So we did that. We made an EP, and a couple 45s came out of that. We kind of shopped it around, and a label out of Canada put out the first couple for us. And then a label in Brooklyn put out one of them for us as well. So we were getting some momentum around it, and we're like, all right, let's do a CD release party, like an EP release. We had this music, let's do it. So we booked a show at this venue called Toast in Fremont, right at the center of the universe in Seattle. And we just were like, all right, we're gonna play the show to sell these records. And so we did it, and it was kind of a very cathartic, amazing experience. The Seattle community really showed up. It was like a sold out show. People were dancing from like front to the back in a way that wasn't really happening. Seattle has a reputation for having pretty stoic music listeners, This dance here called the Space Needle, where everyone just kind of folds their hands like this, stares at the band intently, and that's how Seattle fans took in music. And we were really sort of blown away by the reaction to the fans, and then the sound of the music live performing. So it kind of started there, becoming a live project as well. Wow. In addition to the recording concept, but always has sort of been a recording focused band. We're always sort of about making the records, and then the performance is sort of like in a lot of ways rehearsal for that. It's kind of a long-winded process of like working out music and feeling out vibes and spaces, and then going into the studio and recording it, and then doing the same thing again, and it's sort of been like that for the last 10 or so years now.
Damn. 10 years of like, hey, let's just see what happens. And here you are. In any business, that's a good run, man.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It's also very impressive with 8 members in a band to have the same lineup for that long and do it the way you guys do.
Yeah. It's a trip to me too, man. Like, I lived up in Seattle for a little while, and I know what you're talking about. And that was something that I wanted to ask you guys about is, like, when we saw you at the Big Dirty, that entire room was jamming its ass off. Everybody was dancing and making music that doesn't have any lyrics, is all instrumental, heavily groove based, and coming from Seattle. Have you always seen that reaction as you saw at that party? Have they welcomed you guys with open arms up there, or has it been a struggle coming from up there?
Have they always welcomed us with open arms in Seattle?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like from the beginning, like Ben was saying, there was like, that, like, even just that first show that we played, that's when we kind of realized, like, oh, maybe we should like play some more shows. Maybe we should go rent a van. Maybe we should, like do other things besides focusing mainly on just record, which is kind of what we were focusing on to begin with. But yeah, I mean, the Seattle community has been awesome to us. Like, KXP has been really great for us. I think there's a lot of things about Seattle that, we're really lucky to have a community like that, to kind of, try things out and grow from. It'd be a lot easier if it wasn't in the far northwest corner of the country.
Yeah. For sure.
Makes traveling a little tougher, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm from Seattle originally, or I'm from Linwood originally.
Okay.
Ben's from New York. He might have a different perspective on Seattle than I do.
What's your take, Ben?
Let's see. Well, back to your original question. Seattle fans. What I think was the blown away moment for us, and what made this a live band was the fact that Seattle music fans were like dancing, like you said, like people were loose and free in a way that really wasn't happening in Seattle in our scene, or in a way that we saw. So that was something that was powerful for us. And then obviously the fact that the music feeds off of that was another, level to the creativity that kind of came from that. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, we have very fun shows here in Seattle. Like, people get down. It's real. It's a party. It's different everywhere we go. And it's interesting to see the dance moves, regions of the country, and how they sort of, how leave their mark in the places that they're in our minds anyway. But yeah, it's been a supportive community. Seattle is, when I moved to Seattle, I moved here from Boston originally in 2001. And what blew me away about Seattle was sort of the free, expressive creativity that this music scene and music community has. It's unlike anywhere else in the country that I had been at the time and still have been. Wow. In terms of a really, really talented local music community that plays like a lot of really original music, like not cover bands, not whatever, just like really original stuff. And some of it is really off the wall and you're like, that's not commercially viable in any way, but it's real art happening,
Right.
And that still sort of even with all the strains and stresses of living in an expensive city, that still exists, I feel like, in Seattle today, and is different than other communities that we travel to. And so the music fans, I think, are more discerning here, because they have a very, very, there's a lot of really talented local music here that's just like world class, and a lot of reason for that is because it's so far from everywhere else that bands and musicians don't leave the Northwest. Right. It's too far to go to California, or it's too far to go to New York. We're kind of stuck here in the Northwest. So there is a very talented sort of pool of creativity here that I think is cool. It's also, with KXP and the larger sort of outlets that we've been able to explore here in Seattle, those places really turned on to us after we went out on the road and started getting, some people from other places interested in our music. It was like Seattle's very much celebrates, I think, the local musicians who leave and come back.
Right. Yeah. No shit. Right.
Once somewhere else accepts you, then we will.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Seattle very, very much looks to the outside world being like, what's cool, what's cool in San Francisco, what's cool here. And I think that's, that reflected in sort of how we were treated as a band. And I think a lot of bands that have started to break out into the world from Seattle, I think, experienced that as well.
At the time when you guys, recorded and stuff like that, you all were in other projects, and then that just kind of went by the wayside, or do you all still have side projects that you are in currently?
I think we all still, everyone was doing stuff when we got together, and everyone still does stuff that, still has their side projects. I think as it was kind of a slow process where like we got together to record, then we started like booking a few gigs, then we started like leaving for longer periods of time, and we got offered some better gigs, and that's when like people started to kind of slowly make it more of their like priority,
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, and it's funny because a lot of other bands, or people that I know that are in big bands are trying to get that together. They're like, how do you guys get that, how do you get that, like everyone like ready to go from day one? And I think a lot of it with us goes back to recording,
Wow.
It's like, that's where it all starts from. It's like, and it's still a really huge part of what we do,
It's
So what?
It's strange to me to think that it starts from the recording, because it kind of seems the opposite of what most other bands do. They get together, they play in the garage, they go play some shows, they start to have people coming to see them, then they go record. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like backwards.
Yeah. I should say that we also, Another thing that I think is pretty big to like the way this band sounds is the rhythm section has a side project called Unthinkable Heavies, and it's basically the rhythm section with Art Brown, the sax player. And we were playing at a place called the Sea Monster, which is kind of like a local Seattle music hang. They have a lot of like great jazz, funk, a lot of like, you know, recurring like weekly gigs, monthly gigs. And we were doing a monthly there. And we probably did it for like 10 years, and it was just the rhythm section, and it was super loose. And it was, you know, we would like do a lot of experimenting, and we would learn how to jam together, and we would learn how to like trust each other, you know, and make things happen in that kind of way live. Yeah. That also translates over to recording as well, you know, because a lot of the recording we've done has been like, you know, we're trying to capture that magical moment where we're all playing, you know, in one room. And, you know, so I think a lot of it also has to do with those types of side things that we've been doing throughout the whole, you know, however long it is, 10, 11, I guess coming up on 12 years now, maybe.
Yeah.
So
I would say, I want to say, you know, with getting back to the recording thing, like the buy-in from the band members, and the reason that the band like I feel like was bought in from the beginning, like Grant was saying, is that, you know, once you leave an artistic mark, like I think a lot of us had not experienced in a project, right, where you go in, you record something, and then it actually comes out in a physical world, like a label puts it out or something like that, you know, like it was like there was actually like purpose beyond, like we made something, and then the world kind of took it and made it their own. And that was like a very, I think, powerful buy-in for everybody who was in the project, because they're like, wow, we can actually continue to make music that's actually going to go through the pipeline and get out to people's ears. And that was, I think, an early way that people really made it sort of a priority to other projects that they had done.
Okay.
And we continued to make records in that way that allowed us to do that. And I think that sort of helped keep the unit together. The live projects and the side projects and stuff like that, like Grant was saying, have always been a part of the Seattle community. Like most Seattle musicians play in like a million bands. Right. You know, it's like, it sort of is the way, I guess, the way that it is in a lot of cities like Austin and New Orleans and things like that too. And so being able to try stuff and experiment and do that is all kind of, I think, part of it. The other thing is like not trying to, all of us are creative and can really lead our own bands. I mean, every musician in Polyrhythmics writes music for Polyrhythmics and other projects as well. And so it's important to have outlets, I think, for creative people that allow you to express the things that don't necessarily fit in the lane that you're trying. Like, you know, we sort of have at this point in Polyrhythmics a refined sort of thing going on, both live and in the studio. It's like we're taking risks, but we're taking risks as a big unit. You know, we're not like one person just taking a left turn and we're like, oh, what's going on over there? It's like our focus is more defined, I think, than it was maybe when we first started. So it's nice to have places to put other artistic things that we like. Like we like a lot of different types of music, right? But it doesn't necessarily all have to be in Polyrhythmics. Yeah,
that makes sense. And I want to go back to something that you said, Grant. You know, having time to play together and learn how to trust each other, you know?
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit for people that aren't musicians? Hear that it just like goes past them, right? As something that you said, but that's really important when you're creating art with other people, to be able to be in a space to trust them. What does that mean for you guys?
Yeah, you know, I think it can mean a few different things. I think it can be applied to a lot of different ways that you can approach music. I was specifically really thinking about, you know, when we like our music is pretty orchestrated, but there's like big sections that we have basically like blocked off for, like, this is where we're going to let something develop. And this is where we're going to, you know, improvise, and we're going to like listen to each other. And I feel like the trust part is like, you know, when someone is kind of being like, okay, I think we're going to take it this direction, not fighting it, and like, you know, in a split second buying into that. Right. And like following that whichever way the rabbit hole goes. You know what I mean?
That's
and
dope.
Yeah, and the more that we play together, the more that we kind of just know that, like, okay, someone's gonna kind of pick it up right here, and we may not know how this thing's gonna end, but it's gonna show itself to us, you know, as long as we're patient and we don't like try to force it. You know, I feel like that's been a thing with other bands and other musicians that I played with, is like, you know, if there's not that much trust, then some people just try to grab the reins and force it into one direction because they're like, oh, someone's got to control this thing, right?
Right.
So I feel like that's a big part of what we do, and it's a big part of how how our sound has evolved over the years.
Right.
That's one thing I love. I love what Ben said and what you just said. The thing I love about watching you guys live, now have seen you a handful of times, is everybody in the band is capable of leading their own band. So you have like 8 leaders. There is always you demand attention to everybody. Yeah. And I got to say, out of the band, it's hard to like I love you all, but I feel like Art is like my spirit animal. Watching live, and that's, you know, for a sax player, flautist, to be the one to me, even when he's not playing, even when the horn section's not playing, we were commenting on that when we saw, they are still so in the groove, even when they're just standing there, and they just, you know, everybody in the band has that attention drawn to them, and it's hard to know who to watch, but everybody takes the lead and shares it, and it passes around so effortlessly that it just keeps the groove going. I mean, we were there when we've seen you guys. It's like, if you are not moving your ass and your entire body at a Polyrhythmics show, you're a corpse. Yeah. or you're so high that you're out in outer space, and the soundtrack is there, but you're incapable of moving.
Well, to be able to have trust like that with 8 other, I could see, you know, 3 guys, a 4-piece even, like developing that thing over time, but finding 8 people that you can musically fall in with like that is a gift.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't know, man. That's something special. And I think that maybe that is what we're responding to, is that level of connection between you guys. Because like I said, it's a very specific thing that you guys bring. That groove is real, and it's magical, and it's tight. And I think that kind of answers that for me, is that it's the trust between you guys that is bringing that out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think Art's a great example of that, because Art, for example, he's a great soloist, right? He really knows how to like build an arc. He's super patient. But he trusts us a lot because he doesn't know what we're gonna do underneath it. Right? We could be like, you know, building something up and kind of lifting him up one direction. We could be pulling the rug from out underneath him. You know, he doesn't even really cue when his solos end. Like he lets me cue a lot of times when his solos end, because he's like, man, I'm just gonna ride the rhythm section wave, and you guys will know when it's done. You know, wow. So I think that's, you know, like the amount of trust that he has in us is, you know, it's cool. It's fun to play behind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is like every time we watch you, the fun you guys are having on stage is amazing. Watching Jason and Ben like in the middle of the universe, kind of doing that stomp and keeping that pocket that everybody is creating around. Is I haven't seen that with other bands. It's you know, it just, you guys keep that pocket so down, it gives that beat to just continuously move with. It never breaks.
Yeah, and you know, watching you guys, Ben, I wanted to ask you, like, your playing is so you and unique, and I wondered like what your influences are, and like how you got started playing and how that developed, because it really is unique, and it's you, man. It's badass.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Well, you know, I think my musical taste on guitar kind of, or like influences, are sort of all over the map, probably like most guitar players. Mm-hmm. I grew up listening to like classic rock and stuff like that, and I grew up in the Northeast in the 90s, and got into sort of like jam band scene pretty early. There was kind of a heavy jam band scene kind of bubbling in the Northeast, like with bands like Medeski, Martin and Wood that were kind of on the jazz tip that were getting in there. And then like, I was really into funk music early on, and I was playing a jazz band in high school. And so that our jazz band teacher would always like sneak the rhythm section, like all this like fusion music, and like, so he would give us some like Herbie stuff to learn. And so the rhythm section of the jazz band would like learn the Herbie tunes, and he'd give us like some Return to Forever stuff, and then like some Zappa stuff, and then kind of like that. So we got sort of influenced in all that music early on. I was a really big Zappa fan. I got really into Frank Zappa early on. And then bands like Fish and things like that. And so those were kind of like the early influences on my guitar playing. On the jazz side, like Grant Green, Wes Montgomery, things like that were kind of really, really, influential. As I got into like later in high school, I got into really the rhythmic aspect of guitar, really into like all of the James Brown guitar players, all of the different ways where these like little kind of pocket grooves kind of came up to make like a really, really strong kind of feeling. And so in college, got more into like Afrobeat music, and I went to school in Boston, and there was a lot of bands playing, sort of West African music or like touching on that there. And so there was a band in particular called the Miracle Orchestra, which was a Northeast project that consisted of like the Sayers brothers, Garrett Sayers, who's the bass player, for the Motet, and his brother Drew. It was their project, and it was like kind of a fusion band, but they were really like heavy rhythmic, and kind of got me into I don't know. It was an influence early on, right? Bands like the Slip and things like that.
Okay.
As well, so guitar wise, it's like Zappa, Grant Green, and then like every James Brown guitar player. Like, we're kind of like the things that were really like the most probably influential.
So are you a guy that went to music school for college, or did you just start playing and do your thing?
I did not go to music school in college. I went to school for something else in Boston. I went to BU, and I started playing with I was always playing music, but I wasn't playing at a collegiate level. I was kind of more jamming and stuff, and I had some friends in my class that were in a band called Addison Groove Project, which was another Northeast sort of jam band. And I would jam with them a little bit, and they were playing funk music, and I started my own little thing there. But really it wasn't until like I moved to Seattle in 2001 that I kind of really started kind of like pushing to play music out.
Right.
Pretty much as I graduated. And I started a rock trio in Seattle called War Pigeon, which was very like Zappa-ish.
I love the name.
And very, kind of comedic, funky, fusion-y kind of music. And that's kind of where my path started. I got into some funk bands and stuff after that, playing with Lucky Brown and other projects in the Northwest, and then Polyrhythmics, and here we are,
dude.
But so Ben never vocals, or
I used to sing, actually. In War Pigeon I sang,
Okay.
and definitely instrumental music became more and more my focus as I started recording, and mostly because I just got really, really into like, I don't know, like the idea of music having a lot of different meanings to a lot of different people, right? When you have vocal music, it's like you either like the singer or you don't like the singer. If you like the singer, you might like the band. If you don't like the singer, there's no chance you're gonna like the band. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, so there's like all these layers of like
Yes.
of access to the music that are kind of there, and then the message is pretty much like being spit down your throat, like here's what it's about, right?
Yep.
With instrumental music, I found myself listening to bands like Medeski, Martin and Wood, right, which would just take you on this journey that you're like, wow, I just went on a trip. I wasn't, sober or not, like you're just like, it took you places, and then you listen to it again another time, it takes you somewhere completely different.
Right.
That kind of thing got really like, I don't know, I just got sort of addicted to that. And as we started to record and make recordings, and being able to capture all the aspects of production and things like that, there's just so many miles to travel in that realm that I just kind of haven't really looked back and haven't practiced any vocal chops in a long time.
Well, that's what I saw something about, like you saying that, which we all call it the soundtrack to our lives. That it does create a soundtrack, because you guys get played around here by all of us. We have a big house. It's played in the kitchen when cooking. It's played when friends are over here hanging out on the patio. It's on when somebody's in the shower. It's on. I mean, because it's
music,
open.
Yeah, it's just so easy to enjoy by everyone. And like you said it perfectly. You either like the vocalist or you don't, or maybe you like the music but the song sucks. Like the lyrics. And so when you have this opportunity to just not think but feel the music, it changes, and everybody in the same room can feel however they want and jive together without needing to debate any controversial lyric or stupid word choice.
To me, it's music that's always appropriate.
Yeah.
It's just always appropriate,
Right.
no matter what circumstance it is, because it could be your favorite song again and again, and it's going to mean something each time to that environment or who you're with or where you are.
So
that's what I love about instrumental music so much.
For both of you, like, was it the love of music that made you set aside any kind of 9-to-5ers, or do you do that? Like, what's your current situation with music as far as going forward in, is it paying your bills? Is it something that you always wanted to do?
Hey man, what if Santa comes down your chimney and he leaves a bunch of weed under the tree?
That's pretty cool, Santa.
Yeah.
It is pretty cool, Santa.
That'd be like Santa Claus.
It would be like Santa Claus, exactly like that. We have our own Santa Claus here in Portland, and that's Apple.
That's me.
And he works at Define Premium Cannabis out in Hillsboro. Tell him all about it, Apple.
Well, we have a nice boutique shop out there, and if you come in and visit us, and when you come in, you make sure to say, I'm a No Simple Road listener. We're going to roll out the red carpet. We're going to welcome you in. Well, here comes the red carpet. We're welcoming you. Come on in, Mel
I'm
and
a No
Aaron.
Simple Road listener.
I didn't expect all this fanfare.
Are you two shopping together?
We
As a matter of
are.
fact, we are.
Well, what seems to be bothering you lately?
I have a hard time falling asleep, and my head's all over the place, man.
And I like getting back rubs, and I also like getting high.
Okay, well, it sounds like for you as a couple, I would recommend you want the nighttime CBN CBD gummies, Aaron. That's going to help you with your inflammation. It's going to calm you. It's not going to knock you out, but when you go to sleep, it's going to help you sleep throughout the night.
Wow.
And then Mel, sounds like you need like a nice salve or a balm or some of our clinical strength mentholated lotion. There's several. Oh, and you know what? For both of you, I would highly recommend buying a bottle of this High Desert Pure bath salts.
Okay,
I'm ready.
So this a demonstration that you've been listening to is exactly the kind of care and attention you're gonna get at Define Premium Cannabis.
And wait, don't leave yet, because here's a couple free lighters.
What about my free T-shirt? I listen to No Simple Road.
Here's a free T-shirt, and make sure to wear that back next time, because we're gonna stack that on the other one. You're gonna get a 15%.
Damn, I walked out of here with gummies and lotion, a T-shirt, and a lighter, and look at this free bong I got. I'm going home to get loaded.
Don't forget the bath salts.
Ooh, that's right.
And you know what?
What?
Always bring a towel.
That's right. Define Premium Cannabis.
What is a city without its music?
The legacy of the New York Philharmonic is incredible.
Nearly 2 centuries of history. That's a lot of music and a lot of stories.
I was sitting on stage for the very first time thinking, I can't quite believe this is happening.
Join me, Jamie Bernstein, as we explore the history of the New York Philharmonic. It's the NY Phil story made in New York, a podcast about a city, its people, and their orchestra. Listen wherever you get podcasts.
With me personally, I made a decision like a while ago that like music is what I want to do. I want to play, I want to record. I also teach lessons.
Right on.
A lot of us in the band teach lessons. And I love that too.
It's a great way to give back, man.
Yeah, and it takes up, it's kind of ebbs and flows with the touring schedule. Like we're not on the road like, 80% of the year, like some bands are. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely a, I don't know, there's like a balance to it.
Wow. You don't hear that very often, Grant.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. And Ben's situation might be a little bit different. But several of us in the band definitely teach lessons. So that's one thing that we all kind of share. I know Ben teaches a little bit too.
Yeah, it's about. I mean, music, like Grant, I luckily decided that I was going to be that music was the path for me at an early point in my life. And everything else is sort of like you do what it takes to allow yourself to play music. I mean, it's kind of like as you get older, it's like really, it's like, I don't know, it's like more intensely defined. It's like music is the priority, and whatever it takes without anyone getting hurt, basically, to get it done. Sometimes, and if hurt, not maimed, right?
Yeah. And if maimed, not too bad.
Not as long as, and it's interesting. It's like, I feel like that the part of there's something so valuable about putting something out into the world that you're leaving behind. I mean, I think if we were a project that was just out playing shows and not making records, I don't think the value would be there really for any of us in the way that it is. I mean, we all grew up and are still continuing to listen to music that was recorded in the last 100, 200 years, and it's like when you find something that moves you that was recorded whenever it was recorded, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, it sets you off into, at least it has set me off into directions that have like created all kinds of new music from, and to think about that happening with our music potentially in the future is like one of the most valuable things to me.
Wow. So you're already aware of the legacy that you're leaving behind and kind of working with it still.
I think it's probably the most potent motivator.
Wow.
Wow. That's saying a lot. Like when we started doing this podcast, we started 5 and change years ago. And that was not on my mind until maybe a year or so in. I was like, holy shit, we're documenting like an entire period of music that's happening. And then we had a grandson. I'm like, oh my God, this kid's going to be able to get to know his grandparents through all this shit that we've done. And he's going to be able to go back and listen to this. And then when COVID happened, like we documented all these artists through COVID and lockdown and all this stuff. And I have to agree with you, man, that legacy is one of the driving motivators of like when you find something that you're passionate about and moving forward with it, especially as you get older, because you start to realize that there's less time in front of you than there is behind you. And you want to have something that like means something when you're not around anymore. And music, especially, or like instrumental music, is so potent for that. Because like we were just talking about a minute ago, it's interpreted by the listener, and it's situational. And so 20 years from now, when somebody listens to Polyrhythmics, who knows what they're going to be thinking, because of what situation they're in or what's going on in the world or whatever. So having that to leave behind is super powerful, man. I love that. That's really cool.
Thanks. I think that's probably the number one reason that we're trying to make as many records as possible while we can. We just finished a new record that'll hopefully come out here in the next 6 months that we're excited about. We're very much a band that needs to like get the music out as soon as we're done with it so that we can start working on the next one. So that's kind of where we're at right now, and that's like goal.
Well, and you have your own studio now, right? Jason has a studio that you guys record in now.
Yeah, we've for the last several years we've been recording at Jason's studio. He built a studio in West Seattle that's sort of like kind of perfect for us. We're a very like no frills band when it comes to recording. We're not afraid to record in dirty, dingy places that are just spaces that allow us to occupy. I mean, there's a lot about our recording process, which is about really capturing a really good recording in a funky spot.
Okay.
And calling it good. But Jason's Place has really allowed us to, I think, to kind of lean more on the post-production side of things and really develop our hand at adding stuff after the fact, after it's been recorded in a way that's been really, really fun. So we've definitely done the last few there. And this record was mostly all recorded during the pandemic. So it was mostly recorded. We did some live tracks at Jason's studio and then a lot of remote recording that then came back into Jason's studio to mix. So
And are you all mixing it? Like, are you all part of the post production process?
Primarily, it's been mostly Grant, myself, and Jason.
Okay.
Kind of doing a lot of the post production work. And I think, it sort of ebbs and flows. Everybody, when someone writes a song or is a big part of writing a song, a lot of times they'll be more involved in the total production of that song. Jason sort of is like, from a producer, like if you were looking at it like a producer, Jason's role is like to make sure that all of the music sounds cohesive together, over the course of a record potentially. And then the writers themselves have a lot more say in like, well, I want this type of effect going on here. What, like we'll go in and play. And sometimes, Grant and Jason and I have had sessions that have lasted many, many nights where we go just down the rabbit hole on just all kinds of crazy stuff, just to scrap it all and go back to what we had,
in the beginning.
So a lot of it's just really the fact that we can do it. And we learn a lot from that process. And sometimes you just find these happy mistakes. Sometimes there's this like really, really, really like a gem of a musical moment that happens. Right. And it just happens. And it's really, really cool and powerful. And you try to you're like, what can I do to make that sound different and unique? And you try a whole bunch of different things. And sometimes you end up with something really, really weird and way further along than you would have ever really thought would work. And then you leave it alone. And after a while, you're like, well, I kind of like the way that sounds, and then it sort of just kind of normalizes in your brain. And then it ends up on a record.
Well, and having the freedom to be able to spend that kind of time in the studio, and I'm not paying however many dollars an hour for studio time, and there's no pressure,
right.
Gives you a different, I would think, a little more paint on the palette to be able to just do your shit. You know what I mean?
It does. Totally. And I think it's also just like you said, it's like another paint on the palette. Like we're all creative artists. Grant writes music start to finish, whole tunes, right? And where the horn parts are completely worked out and everything is sort of like kind of buttoned up sometimes all the way. You're like, wow, how does that happen?
Yeah.
And so every creative person who's given like another paintbrush to paint with is going to come up with something, right?
Yeah.
So as you're like, okay, here's your reverb tank, go to town on throwing everything through reverb and seeing, eventually you're going to come up with something pretty cool and unique. I think it's sometimes less refined than someone who's like an expert in that one thing. But I think giving creative people more paintbrushes is always
a good idea. Yeah. Grant.
I think it's also worth saying that we like dub a lot and we like weed.
Okay.
Yeah.
For all the hours in the studio,
tend to find their way into our music.
I'm curious too if we could back up, and because we heard Ben talk, Grant, you said you grew up in Seattle and everything. What are your influences? Like, when did you start? When did the drums come into your life? What are your influences to get you to where we're sitting now?
Yeah. So, I started playing when I was like in fourth grade.
Wow.
Started taking lessons from a really great teacher, this guy named Dan Adams, the percussion instructor at Seattle Pacific University. And I totally remember like when I was in seventh grade playing in band, and I listened to Squib Cakes by Tower Power, and that drum intro on Squib Cakes, and then just the whole song, like that right there was a very, very pivotal moment for me. Like I realized that I absolutely love funk music.
Yeah, okay.
And
wow.
I was like I really geeked out on bands like that, and that, like Tower Power, Mike Clark, Herbie Hancock, stuff like that. When I was in middle school, as I got older, I got more, I went through all sorts of different phases, but I've my influences, I would say, primarily come from funk, James Brown. I like pocket drumming. I'm also like really into hip hop too. So that's another thing that, that's another, I feel like, part that I add to, or I guess a voice that I bring to the band is kind of more in that direction. For me, it's like, it all just has to feel good, like when we're like jamming and we're going places, like it can get loose, while being locked.
While the pocket is still filled.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
You know what I mean? And
that.
And me and Jason are committed to that. Me and the bass player Jason, like, we're committed to making sure that things are locked. And like when they're not locked, we talk about it.
Okay.
Wow.
Hey, you know what, man? Like
Dancing when you're in that loose lock,
you got it, Mel.
man. Because Jason's smile is really something that captured me right off the bat. Like, I mean, I love every musician, guitar, bass, drums, all that. But, you know, sometimes when you're an onlooker, someone will stick into your mind for whatever reason, or you'll just lock in on that one person. And when we were at the Big Dirty, we were a little bit further out when you guys were playing at Summit. So we just enjoyed the sound of the band and what you were bringing. But when we were a little bit closer and were able to seeing the interplay between you and Jason, Grant, and Jason's face when that lock loose was going on, there's nothing like that. Like that right there is why people drop shit and go on tour. It's why people like say, you know what, I'm playing the drums now, or I'm playing the bass now. Like that's what's cool. I think, you know, just being a little bit more selfish, but specifically as an adult that can go to the shows and enjoys dancing and loves that. That's the kind of stuff that inspires an adult to like pick up a new instrument and be like, fucking, I'm doing it. I don't care what's going on. I'm going to call this dude Grant, see if he does lessons. You know what I mean? Like it is what you guys are doing, and you're just having fun. Clearly you guys are having fun. You're smiling the whole time, joking around on stage, bouncing. Like, it's just really cool, the inspiration that you put out by you guys just having a good time, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I mean, I think that is very important. Like having a good time on stage and being in the moment, that's also something that I think we've really learned how to settle into, you know, no matter, you know, no matter what the challenge is, whatever challenges we might be facing at that moment or that night or whatever, you know, like, you got to be there and you got to be in the moment. And yeah, I mean, with Jason, I've known Jason for a really long time now. I mean, it's been probably, it's got to be more than 15 years. We went to college together at Cornish College for the Arts in Seattle. So we studied music there together. And like in that era of my drumming, I was like, you know, I was all like really into fusion and just like geeking out on drum solos a lot and, you know, learning like a ton. And I remember like in college playing actually with Jason, I was playing in this Hawaiian reggae band.
What?
And that was kind of where I learned, like, it was the first gig with them where I learned that, like, man, I'm not as like tight in the pocket as I think I am.
Oh,
you know?
okay, wow. Yeah.
And it was where it just goes kind of like, you know, like you're a young, cocky, like college student that's just like transcribing, you know, crazy drum solos and all that kind of stuff. And then like going and playing with this reggae band, and these guys were just like dialed, you know, and it was like actually it was a really like interesting like lesson for me in learning how to play pocket music and how to like make stuff, you know, feel good.
How? Like, okay, what's the actual steps that you're seeing that are like, oh, I got to clean that up? Or like, so you're in this situation with this really tight band. What is it pulling out from you?
Well, we didn't have any rehearsals, and we played like it was like some big festival in Tacoma out on an outdoor stage. And like the band leader just like bitched me out like several times.
That was specific. Okay.
he was like count off the tune, and I counted it off too slow, or I counted it off too fast, and he's like, you're slowing down, you're speeding up, and it was just like it was a lot, you know. And they're like, I was like, holy shit, man.
So you got initiated that day.
yeah
got jumped in,
you know. And I was like young jazz kid, just like not really completely understand. I was like, oh yeah, I'll go play this reggae gig. I know how to play reggae. This is easy, you know. And it was just, I learned a lot that day. Learned a lot about how to hold it down and make things, you know, feel a certain kind of way.
Yeah. Well, going back to what Ben was saying about you writing music, bringing a tune completely finished with horn parts buttoned up and everything, What the fuck?
That's
man?
definitely a unique mind.
Yeah,
That's a unique mind.
I gotta know.
Right there.
Do you hear it finished already, and then it's got to come out, or is it like pieced together and then it's done when you bring it to them?
It depends. It depends. Like sometimes we, you know, I'll bring like an idea for a groove, or a groove with a bridge, and we'll flush it out. Sometimes, you know, a lot of times I do have like a fully fleshed out vision for like the whole tune, and I just kind of like, you know, it's just in my head, and it's like I have files, you know. I have all these tunes that I'm kind of working on filed away in my brain that, you know, working on them is like taking the dog for a walk, you know, and like walking down the street and just like singing through different parts and hearing, oh, is that going to sound good? Oh, maybe not. You know, is that going to sound good? Yeah, that kind of sounds good. And like piecing stuff together like that. And then, you know, as time went on, I started getting better at also making demos, and, you know, in Logic and stuff like that, which is really helpful. It's like hearing the whole, you know, the whole idea of the tune, is sometimes good, but it's sometimes also good just to have like kind of a shell of an idea, you know, or an outline, and then having all those, you know, the in-between spots get gelled when the band gets together.
Okay.
You know, I try not to hold on to anything too tightly and like, no, it's like this in my brain, so we have to do it like that.
So then it goes back to that trust, right? Like you were were saying earlier, because that right there, bringing in a fully fleshed idea and being like, this is it, guys, knowing that you are all instrumental, groovy, funky, like that, that doesn't even make sense to bring a fully fleshed idea.
This can't change.
A lot of times the fully fleshed is maybe more like a form idea.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like we had a song, Octagon, that's on the record Octagon, that has a very clear idea. The whole idea is it's this ridiculous story about me battling a cheetah in the octagon. And the intro is like, you know, this like slow kind of thing where you're circling, you know, and then there's like a section where like the fight is on, and then there's like this whole section where there's like, you know, Nate is playing a clav solo, and I told him like, you know, I want him to like actually sound like a cheetah, like going wow, 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 like that, you know. And like having an idea like that you can latch onto, that's like thematic.
Yeah.
Then people can kind of take, you know, and move with that in a way. And with instrumental music, you know, it's like sometimes we need just like a weird story or something to give us an idea, because we're not singing, you know, about how like, you know, my babe left me and, you know, whatever, like what most songs are about, right?
Yeah.
You know, check this out. We're all adults. We have, you know, bills to pay and all that stuff. But you guys have the most fun job in the world, period. Like,
that's debatable.
Well, no, think about it. You get to literally play with your friends all the time and make up shit and hang out and make weird sounds and watch people dance. And like, what a great thing. What a fun job to have as a quote unquote grown up, to be able to like use your imagination and like, that's the best shit ever, man. I don't know. You
just had to throw
I'm
that
grateful.
in there.
Yeah, I just had to throw that in there. I was just listening to you. I'm like, that sounds like the most fun ever. Like,
it certainly is. It's what makes everything that, you know, it makes all the work part become sort of inconsequential in terms of the conversation, right? Like that's the most, because it's so powerful, you know. And it's so powerful that it'll, you know, musicians will almost do it at any cost, you know.
Yeah, well, that's I think why a lot of times interviewers or conversationalists or whatever will ask, like, at what point did you decide to become a musician? Because not only is it like one of the biggest sacrifices you'll ever make in your life, but like Aaron said, you're encouraged to play for a living, and to kind of like whatever you need to sacrifice, you just got to do it. So that's why it's asked a lot, because that's an inspiring part of life when you finally decide, like, no matter what, I'm going to go down this path and I'm going to do this. And sometimes when you do that with a bunch of guys or friends, it doesn't, like, maybe one or two go off the, they get married, they have kids, and being a dad is the best thing now. And like, they created a new company and now that's their thing. So like, it's a question that's asked a lot, because I think that people, the average person that maybe wants to do something extreme or something that's all in, wants to know at like what point does that happen? Like at what point do you feel comfortable enough in your skill, in your partners, and in your craft to move forward? But you guys already said it.
Yeah.
You guys created that.
I think you just have to know that like there's no way that you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And then you have to also realize like once you go out and like actually do some touring and realize that, oh my God, this is 95% like hard shit, and 5% like 5% of my time is really doing the good stuff,
Right.
Yeah.
95% of my time is grinding, like traveling and doing stuff like that. And then if you still feel that way, then you're good.
Yeah. No, I forget who it was that we spoke to, but they were like, you guys don't understand. A musician's life is, like you just said, everything that we're doing is for 1% of the moment on the stage. Like getting in the van, sleeping in a shitty hotel on the floor or whatever, like eating on gas station food on the road, humping our gear here and there, like showing up for sound check, all that stuff, that doesn't have anything to do with the performance. The performance is like this one small little slice that we're all working towards that moment. And we love doing it so much that we're willing to put up with all that other shit just to be able to have those moments on the stage. And
well, we saw that big time. I don't know if you guys, Apollo Sons, they're from Canada. They've become good friends of ours, and they just recently came and stayed with us. Same thing. They're a 7 to 9 piece touring band, depending on who's available from horn section, who's filling in. But just like you guys, I mean, most bands are 3-4 people or something. The logistics of an 8-person band, that you're no longer in a small minivan or anything like that pulling a trailer. The logistics, and they traveled all the way from Canada down here to do a whole West Coast tour. And Ed's kind of the guitar player leader. Anyway, Ed told us a lot about that. Ed was constantly, hey, can I put on another cup of coffee up till the middle of the night, figuring out the logistics, the next thing, where they're going to eat. I mean, it's a lot that goes into it.
That was something I wanted to ask you guys. You brought it up at the beginning of our conversation, but, being from the Pacific Northwest poses its own unique challenges.
The travel.
Yeah. And, I feel like right now, post-COVID, the Pacific Northwest is really ripe with wonderful, amazing, talented bands. There's 5 or 6 that come to mind. And is being up here, do you think it makes it harder as opposed to, like, I don't know, being from Burlington or North Carolina or something like that on the East Coast, where you can just tour from place to place really simply without these long distances in between?
Yes, it makes it a lot harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a reason, there's not that many West Coast bands in general that have national pull.
Yeah.
There's West Coast artists, that are sort of from LA or different things like that are kind of pumped through the system that do break it. But it's really difficult to get from the West Coast to the East Coast markets, and the population densities are just so vastly different. I mean,
right.
Like if you live in Philadelphia, like literally you can spend the whole year playing Thursday through Saturday in, all up and down the Eastern Seaboard and play for literally millions of fans that way.
Right.
Whereas, on the West Coast, you have a 14-hour drive pretty much in between everything that you're doing. So there's not a whole lot of opportunity to break in that way. So I think that, because of that, I think that, you have to be more creative, being from the West Coast. And I think that's largely why we started as a recording project, because we never really thought it was even possible to like do any kind of touring, or it, just wasn't really in the sort of ethos. It was like, well, records can travel, and that's, people can buy
Right.
the way to get the music out there, and so I think that, I think from a whole lot of reasons, based on the infrastructure of clubs and networks that exist on the East Coast that just aren't really in existence as much on the West Coast. I kind of liken it to like colleges, like a university has like a 4 or 3, someone who's in place for like 3 years, booking all the talent that comes through the university, and then they change over and it's like everything starts over again, as do all the music fans that were there, because they're all moved somewhere else. Now they're not in college, and the West Coast, I feel like is like that too. Whereas like San Francisco will have like, a scene going on that's sort of starting to work with Portland a little bit. And then whatever the breed is that was there is like turns over, and then that relationship isn't there anymore. And now it's just, it's like you're just kind of constantly piecing islands together, basically.
Yep.
Wow.
Just sort of feels like.
Yeah.
But I do feel like that the music that does break out from the West Coast is really special, because it has so much more distance travel.
Yeah.
It's got to have legs, man, or it ain't going to make it. You guys are, is it the Star Theater?
No, Aladdin.
You guys are playing New Year's at the Aladdin?
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at, like a 2-set long into the night thing?
We're looking at a 2-set banger. It's going to be a real fun show. I don't think it's going to go like super late, because it is a theater, it's probably somewhere around 1 or something, but we're going to do 2 sets. We have some special guests with us as well. Adrian formerly from Orgone, who's going to be singing with us on some music, which we're really excited to work with her. And Grant and Art have been sort of musical directors on this evening that is being curated for you. So I hope that you're ready to receive the music.
Wow.
It'll be pretty heavy.
Say it like that, man. Like, how can I not be there for that?
No, I'm just curious. You guys, you just wrapped up the fall tour, so you're taking a little break through the holidays, and then that's going to be the comeback on New Year's.
Yeah, basically, exactly. We're kind of off until then. We're trying to like,
I love it,
focus our energy on just like buttoning up this record to get it out and to the world, right? So we're gonna like hopefully do that here in the next week or so, and then focus on New Year's. We've actually been rehearsing for this New Year's show. Like this band hasn't had a real Polyrhythmics rehearsal in probably years or so. And
what? That's so fun. I was going to ask you guys about rehearsing, but okay, there it is.
I mean, we all play a lot, and we all rehearse a lot, and we all have music that we're sharing with each other all the time. But most of the actual rehearsal time that Polyrhythmics gets is during sound checks. We do try.
Wow.
We have our own sound engineer who we travel with. His name is Stu Jackson, who's a very key part of what the music that we're delivering, and is really responsible for making it sound amazing pretty much everywhere we go. And
thank you,
also
Stu.
Allows us to dial in our sound checks pretty quickly, so we have time to rehearse in that sound check time, and we really do use that time. So that's kind of the main thing. But for this New Year's show, we've actually been having rehearsals and learning music and really kind of focusing on some nuances that I think are going to be a thing. So you got to be there.
Hell yeah.
Heck yeah.
I
Can't fucking wait, man.
Well, that's why I had to ask that. I'm just thinking, you guys on stage, you're not going to be on stage for a month, and then coming back to that. That's going to be something
special.
To see. Yes.
It'll be fun. We're still playing a lot though. We're not like just like, we don't have our feet up.
You're not just drinking
it.
hot
noon.
We're waiting.
Yeah, drink a hot cocoa and just veg it. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's not true. I'm actually going to Mexico for a week for my honeymoon.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Grant. Do it to it, man. That's rad.
But I'm going to come back ready.
Yeah, you are.
When did you get married?
And the end of July.
Right on, man.
Yeah. Congratulations. It's we've been married 25 years.
Nope, not yet.
Oh, almost.
Not yet.
November 30th, 25 years.
Almost.
Wow.
4 days.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. It's a dope thing. So yeah, enjoy that journey. It's a trip. Where can everybody find out more info, your tour info, all that stuff, so they want to find out more about Polyrhythmics?
www.polyrhythmics.com.
Okay.
Right
Yep.
on.
That's the spot.
Instagram, Facebook, or the website, or all of the above.
Recently, TikTok too.
Oh shit!
Who
Okay.
does the TikTok? Who's in charge of social media?
I think Eli is doing the TikTok. And then I do a lot of the Instagram stuff. Also, our manager Frank Rinaldi does some Instagram stuff and Facebook stuff. We try to pass it around a little bit, when we can.
It's such a weird thing. It's so
It
weird.
is.
The whole social media thing is such a weird. Like you say TikTok, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to do it.
Yeah,
but I just don't.
we've been putting it off for
just
so long.
Resistant. And
For me,
Yeah.
I feel like my brain is just like a little bit too old
Uh-huh.
to understand like the concept of we're out here like really trying to make experiences happen, right? We're actually having experiences. Like we're traveling long distances and rocking shows and having fun and making music and like, connecting with music fans and people like yourselves who are just like, who live for music. This is like such a crazy little world and bubble. And then we have to go back and like regurgitate that for someone else to experience it from their couch. It like, doesn't make any sense to me. You're like, what is going on?
It doesn't make sense, but it's also one of those things like you don't really understand how it rains, but it rains. Like it's a part of this.
Well, it's a
climate that we live in right now,
and the world we live in.
Well, I'm just gonna say it's so important because. Well, we just had Jay Blakesberg and his daughter Ricky Blakesberg here at the house and talking about their new project, the Retro Blakesberg. And so her thought on she actually was the spearheaded this whole thing of getting all her dad's old pictures out. And when we asked like why, what was the thought behind it? She was like, well, I want people my age, and she's my daughter's age, 26, 27 years old, to be able to know about my dad's work more than just what he's known for, the Grateful Dead. He's he's photographed everybody, and this new generation, that's their language. That's what they speak. They speak social media. They speak TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. And like, if you don't want to die with just this generation that knows and loves you. You want to pass it on because, like you were saying earlier, you can be like inspire them in ways you never even knew. They hear that 8-piece and now there's a 14-piece up there doing some kind of crazy something that you never expected, so it's like kind of not to leave the younger generations out of the awesome stuff that's happening right now. Is the only way that I can make myself feel better about it.
I also love that his daughter added in, and she's on Dad's not allowed to touch the page or do anything with it because he doesn't understand it like I do. So it's like,
okay. Well,
I think I want to see more all ages venues so we could get more of these kids out
yes.
there. Real experiences and meet people the old fashioned way, I guess.
Absolutely. And your music is literally perfect for that too, to have an all ages, set up.
One of our favorite things, we love going to the Crystal Ballroom here, and we love it. Who was it? We saw Green Sky. And it wasn't an all age show. We love the all age shows where they split the room. It's like, if you want to be drunk with your friends, go hang out over there, make a mess of the floor. And we always hang out on the under 21 side. It's funner. It's more alive. There's not a mess all over the floor. There's nobody spilling stuff
dancing.
on you. And they're dancing, and you're feeling that young vibe, which, elevates us too, being older, to be in there with them. I love that you said that. There does need to be a lot more all ages shows. Everybody deserves your music and music
That's true.
in general.
Yep. Agreed. And you guys, I can't wait to see you on New Year's.
Okay, I will say this. We did not have New Year's plans, and Aaron just created them right now.
We've been
talking about
We've been circling things.
I haven't been part of this conversation, and I'm married to him, so think about how long that's been going on.
It's happening.
Well, our management is going to be really excited that we earned 2 more ticket sales today.
Heck yeah, man. Guys, thanks so much for everything that you do and the intention you put into your craft, man. We really appreciate it on a personal level and on a bigger scale.
And when the record comes out, come back and let's talk about the record and help promote it and do all that. And if you all need anything when you're here in Portland, you got my number, man.
We'll be using it.
All right.
Grant, you too. You're already here, man.
Thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate you guys.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for your time, you guys.
All right.
Later.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day. and listening back to that just makes me all the more excited to go hang out with them on New Year's Eve. We have, since the end of this episode here, since the end of this conversation, figured out that we are for sure.
Oh yeah, we purchased tickets. We convinced others to go. We saw their confirmed purchase. It's going to be incredible.
We got a whole group going.
That's
so
right.
far. I think at last count it was up to like 15, 16.
What?
Or something. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's 3 of us,
Well,
Okay.
and
yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 other couples, which makes it 8 writers joining us at a show.
Wow.
Connor got a ticket.
Yeah.
yeah,
I imagine there's probably some others
that we're not thinking.
We haven't even heard of yet.
Yeah.
It's going to be a hell of a night. I hope that if you are out there right now and you're like, man, I should go. Yeah. You should go.
Yeah, it's only $25. It's fun, family, New Year. What else? Can you want?
I love the venue myself. That's the other thing. Like I said, the Aladdin, we've seen circles there. We saw somebody else there. I can't remember, but the setup there is cool. Like if you want to have libations, they got 2 separate bars that never get too busy. They got a great staff there. They're not like hardcore on the security, like some spots. They got an outdoor smoking area if you want to step out.
It's just funny that Mel and I, like Apple's describing the whole venue, and Mel and I just looked at each other and she mouthed, I don't remember. And I said,
oh, okay. I'm like, I thought you guys were making fun of me for a minute. Like, listen,
no, you were doing a great job.
Yeah.
Your memory is incredible.
I could totally remember. I can remember one. It's like the Cinedome theaters they have. We had one in Vegas. There's a lot of Cinedome theaters. It's like the dome. It's like being in a, what do you call it? Like Griffith Observatory.
What?
Yeah, the Aladdin Theater is like a dome inside. We saw circles around the sun there. And in fact, I can remember do you remember you ended up having
I had to poop.
Yeah, you looked at me, you're all kind of sweaty, and you're like, oh, I gotta poop at the show. Yeah, and they got like a nice.
That's all I remember.
They got an area with like some booths and stuff that you can sit down and chill and like step away if you need to.
I just remember
it's just a cool venue.
Coming onto my sacrament and having to go to the bathroom and being really upset that I had to go to the bathroom, and then being in that bathroom, like coming up. And
I have very good attention to detail at venues.
Yeah, you do.
I like to walk around everywhere, listen to the sound in different areas, learn where everything's at. And
I'm
know
the opposite.
The layout.
I like to stay put.
Can you show me the pictures again, Mel? Because you just showed me. It looked like somewhere I'd never been. Well, you know what?
I love it.
It's cool being me because sometimes I get to go someplace twice for the first time. Like this.
And again, too, I mean, that's what I love. Like the three of us, we talk about it all the time. It's like 3 of us all put together make one really good mind, because I got my shortcomings with a lot of things. I struggle with the English language and how to pronunciate things sometimes. And, we all bring it together as one.
Yep.
I thought it was this one, but I still had a block remembering.
Yeah, all I remember is the bathroom.
So if you've never been there, make sure to come join us for Aaron and Mel's first time going to the Aladdin Theater to have a blast on New Year's Eve.
Hey, if you are into bathroom tours, their bathroom's really nice. I do remember that.
I think I went there with Doug too.
Wow. Anyway, it's going to be a fun show, and you know what? I really I hope that those of you that are listening to the show in other parts of the country dig into what these guys have put out. It's really worth it, and these are just some really talented, incredibly talented guys that deserve your attention.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? So, like, speaking of that, if you want to, or even if you don't want to, I encourage you to like reach out to us and tell like, what did you do on New Year's in your town for like, what funky, cool band did you go see on New Year's that you want to turn us on to?
So wait a minute. Did you just tell people that they need to do it even if they don't want to?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, I was
Just
encouraging.
sure.
Even if you do, a lot of times people are like, I'd like to, but I don't want to. Like, do it, man. We always want to hear new music, and just like we want you to.
Well,
You too?
right on.
Yeah. Yeah, U2's new music. You ever heard of Bono?
Oh, God. Anyway, that's it. We're going to get going.
That's it.
We'll be back on Monday with more stuff.
Wait,
and
hold
things.
on.
What?
Monday.
Got a couple little things real quick.
Oh, no.
How much does Santa pay for parking?
I don't know, Apple.
Nothing. It's free. It's on the house. Why did Santa's little helper? Why was Santa's little helper depressed?
I don't know.
He had bad elf-esteem.
Oh. Anyway,
Couple holiday jokes for you there. Sorry.
We'll be back on Monday with more stuff and things with another No Simple Road weekly rewind. And until then, take care of each other and Merry Christmas. Smile at a stranger. Open your presents.
Christmas.
Drink hot chocolate.
Happy Hanukkah.
Spend some time with your family. Light a fire.
What is the fear of being locked in a room with Santa called?
Santaphobia.
Claustrophobia.
I gotta go now. We love you guys.
Happy holidays. Love you all.
But it's a burden. Felony just been deferred, and hella means been the earth, and alchemy can bring the birth, the melody of a newborn. So persistent, so resistant, so insistent, so commitment, so resilient, or haven't you learned it? No simple road. 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 My windshield is shattered as I focus through the spot in the corner that is still intact. The react is both a defense mechanism as well as a fear. We've traveled this road before, so we may think, but it's a tad bit of strange similarities that feed an A=A complex. The fears of your past do not equal the perplexities of the current road.
Hey listeners, I want to tell you about the April-May 2023 issue of Relics magazine. Features a Dave Matthews Band cover story with additional articles and interviews with The National, Graham Nash, Wayne Shorter, ALO, Ivan Neville, our friend Eric Krasno and Stanton Moore, Marty Stewart, and much more. Check out the latest version of Relics and subscribe now at relics.com/DMB. Thanks, Relics.
Hey, this is Steve Choi, host of the Musicians Guild podcast, part of the Sound Talent Media podcast network. Within the four walls of the Musicians Guild, we'll be discussing the habits, idiosyncrasies, experiences, and general psychology of my friends and peers, all involved with music in various capacities. Listen and subscribe at soundtalentmedia.com.